I had a plan. I had a bunch of figures lined up that I wanted to do videos on, and then this thing came in. Got a hold of Studio Series Rise of the Beast Scourge, or Scourge, and I had to disrupt my scheduled, well, not scheduled, but I had to disrupt my filming plans because I really felt the need to talk about this. And the reason I need to talk about this is because it is freaking excellent. Scourge is, at this point, as I'm recording this, the movie hasn't come out yet. We've gotten our first full trailer, which, in my opinion, revealed a little too much in terms of one of the big, both literally and figuratively, story details. But whatever. Point is, we still don't know anything really about Scourge in the movie other than he's the bad guy. And a really intimidating bad guy with a wonderfully kind of creepy voice, too. But, point is, I don't know if this is a Nemesis Prime or not. It's Scourge, turns into a truck. I'm making the assumption, making the headcanon, whatever you want to call it, that this is basically the Bayverse version of Car Robots / RID 2001 Scourge. So, in my mind, that makes this guy a Nemesis Prime. That may not be accurate. We'll see, I guess, when the movie comes out, but I don't care. Black truck, named Scourge, he's a Nemesis Prime to me. Now, this figure is fantastic, and it's for a number of different reasons. Like, the transformation on this thing is really interesting. It does some really cool stuff, and we will get to that. It also looks amazing. There's lots of nice little details, which we will see in a minute. And also, they didn't do a ton in terms of paint, but at the same time they did. It's weird, but like you can see on these smokestacks, which by the way, I really like the quad smokestacks, that they painted these chains around the smokestacks and even around the backs of the smokestacks, like all the way around. And those chains are going all over this thing in various places. And I don't know, I really like that detail. I like how because these are picked out in paint, it really does make that detail stand out and makes it really look like they're kind of wrapped around the grill and such. I mean, there is some more detailing like down here with the brushed silver, and some of the lights are painted, and you've got some lights painted up here as well as the horn. But I just really like that wrapped chain detail that they painted all over this thing. And as you can see, this is clearly like a rough and tumble apocalyptic. Everyone's gonna say it's like a Mad Max thing, but it is. It's like a Mad Max style truck, and this looks really cool. It is kind of weird that you've got this translucent window in the side, but at the same time, you only see it when you're looking at it directly from the side, and I'm willing to give it a pass because it's not technically a completely see-through gap. It's more like you're seeing some of the glowing internal evil machinations of the truck, which I think works. Yeah, I really love this truck. It's full of all of these like brutalist looking details, the bars on the windows, this kind of multi-layered visor at the top. The grill in front is just angry looking. And hi, I have an Astrid in my lap now. She ate a little too fast and got sick earlier this evening, so she's a bit on the clingy side. She's fine. She just every now and then eats too fast and porks. Astrid, can you find a spot to settle, please? Okay, yes, that works for now. Anyway, this is just covered in lots of little details that look great, and the colors are kind of like, the separation is a little interesting, but it also works. I like this kind of darker gray split down the center of the hood. You've got this darker gray section here, and then the lighter gray here. It breaks up really interesting, and I'm honestly not sure how much of this is paint versus not, other than the obvious tampographics and stuff, because we'll see in the transformation, but it kind of looks like some of these bits are not actually painted translucent orange plastic, but rather translucent orange plastic set into other plastic. But anyway, as I was saying, hi Astrid, as I was saying, lots of nice little detail, even like the little holes in the smokestacks. The tires are there. There is this bit on the back that is his weapon. Really? Okay, thank you. And this, again, it's interesting. It kind of blends in with the truck a little bit. It just kind of looks like junk on the back, which I think works given how kind of cobbled together the armor plating and whatnot on this truck mode looks. But also, I was going to hold off on doing a video on this guy until I got Freezer in because I have him on order, and I ordered him specifically because he apparently integrates with Scourge's truck mode and works as like a sort of target master in a way. But I couldn't wait, wanted to talk about this, so we'll just do a Freezer video at some point and I'll show that off, maybe. But anyway, this accessory just pegs onto the back right here. There are these pegs there, and there are these tabs or slots on the underside here. And the truck looks fine without that bit on there, but the robot mode hand and hand are a bit more easy to see when it's not there, kind of pulling your attention away from that. But this is this has a really interesting thing. I like how the weapon actually transforms. I don't see myself ever using it, and once this video is done, I'm probably going to just tuck it in my storage area for accessories, but I do like that it can transform. Anyway, as you saw, you kind of rotate these, rotate this around, and then these both fold in on different sides and peg together, and it gives you this blaster. And it's really simple, but really effective, and I think that's pretty cool. It's got some nice molded detail on it, and it's a neat accessory, except for the fact that in order to... Astrid, please. In order to get it to work in robot mode, you have to pull off Scourge's arm, which I will show off, but I'm just not a fan of that. Anyway, I think that is going to do it for the vehicle mode stuff, so let's just move on to size comparisons so we can get to the real good stuff. Assuming the little cat on my lap doesn't get in the way too much. Astrid, honey, I need to... This is what you come here for, right, folks? Oh boy. Maybe I should have given her some more time to calm down after getting sick. Ah! Just jawed the microphone. Astrid, please. I don't need you to help with transitions. Come here. Come on. Okay. Boy. So here we have Scourge with the kind of standard-ish deluxe comparisons. Or not deluxe, standard comparisons, because Heartfire is not a deluxe. Also, because this is technically a Nemesis Prime, at least as far as I'm concerned, he's getting the evil version of some of the size comparisons, which is why Dark Samus is there instead of regular Samus. But, you know, he's a leader class, so he's pretty big. I feel like, aside from the fact that the cab goes back a little bit further, if you were to, say, cut it off here, it would feel more like a Voyager-sized figure, which it's fine. I mean, this is another one of those instances where I feel like he's not small, but I feel like more of the leaderness of Scourge went into his engineering and paint. So he's not, like, massive. Anyway, let's get this all out of here, which I'm doing while reaching around a cat. She makes this really easy. Seriously, Astrid. I don't know if you can hear her purring. Alright. Come here. Reaching around a camera for these types of videos is its own thing, but reaching around a camera and a cat, that is next level. Anyway, as I said, we're doing evil versions of size comparisons, so there we go. Alright, transformation time. Now that we've got a cat between me and the camera between me and the figure. Right. As I mentioned before, Scourge's transformation is really interesting. Also, I do want to say, raise this up a little bit, I do want to say I did modify this figure very slightly. I used the floor polish trick, which, check that out, to tighten the smokestacks because the rotation on them is a little too loose for my liking out of the box. Anyway, to start with the transformation, we're going to pop the sides of the truck up. So we can just reach under here and pull up, and that will untab from a few different spots. And just bend that down to get everything out of the way. So pull that up and out and up again. You just kind of want to get it up so it's a little bit like bat-winged. And now we can rotate the smokestacks. So we're going to rotate that forward, and now I can straighten these out so that we've got more clearance down here. Next, what do we want to do next? Next, we're going to untab the back here. These feet actually tab together, so just unplug that. And there are these little tabs down here that plug into the thighs. So you want to make sure to clear that before you start moving the legs, because you don't want to rip those tabs off. And before we get this side, we have to unplug this bladed thing from the side. That pegs in up here. So just untap that. And now this can untab from here and can rotate the leg around. Then for the feet, this side has a little peg that you flip out so that they peg together in truck mode. Just flip that up. Flip the foot, or toe rather, down. It actually pegs in right there. And then once it's flipped down, rotate it to the side to complete the foot. And then this unclips from here. And that gives you the free foot. You've got like a couple of potential locking points. This is for truck mode. I don't know why there's a second one here. And then there's like a more free-flowing one. I find the free-flowing one is the best option for opposability. And now this wheel, just the back one, pushes in. And that just pushes in like that. It is not really necessary, but it's for the transformation. Now, going back into truck mode, I find the easiest way to get the wheel out is to make sure the foot's up and out of the way, and then use 2 fingers here. So 2 fingers here, and then your thumb on the hubcap, and kind of do this, push them together. So you're pushing down with your thumb on the hubcap and pulling up on the wheel. Doing that makes it a bit easier to pull that wheel back out, because it is a little bit of a pain, but you'll know you've got it all the way when it's more lined up with the other wheel. Anyway, put that in, and do the same thing on this side. Just rotate the thigh. Oh, no, we already rotated the thigh. Never mind. But yeah, you want to untab, put from there, bring it all the way down, rotate it to the front, unclick it so that it's freed up, and then push this wheel in. And that's it for the legs. Now the upper body is really interesting. This is a really cool transformation. So first, going to want to start on this side. This side has this armature you want to avoid. Also, there's the head. But start on this side, untab this, and it untabs from here. Swing it around, not all the way, just because this might push up against the arm, but swing it around most of the way. And now the grill will untab from this section here. It just kind of tabs right in up here. So pull that forward a little bit. You can see where those tabs are. And then unplug the wheel on this side, but the grill will come with it. So get that down and out of the way a little bit, and then unpeg this. And also you kind of want to be careful to get this around the lip of the hood section. But once that's untabbed, that'll come free, and you can swing that around as well. And we've kind of got this going on. Now, going to untab these sections from the hood. You can see this seam going down the middle. You want to untab it from both sides, like that. Now this entire assembly here can come up, and you want to extend it on a bunch of hinges. So just like that. Now, let's see, we'll hold off on finishing up the backpack just yet. Just keep that out of the way. Now, going to take this arm and just kind of pull it up. This doesn't really peg in, just kind of sits in place, but going to get that moving a little bit, so that gives us the room we need to push this wheel the rest of the way in. And again, like, you could push that in before moving the arm, but like I said, just the way that everything sits, it kind of, especially this painted light, kind of brushes up against the arm, and I don't really like that. So I'll push that in. Now on this side, because it has the hood, you want to move it out at this hinge and swing it forward. So you're kind of opening it up and rotating it, or rather, okay, rotate it back this way. So you're rotating it back like this while swinging it around. And now this can go all the way in. And now this will just kind of rotate down into place. You straighten out this armature and then bring this section up, and it will tab in to the chest and give him his chest plate. Next, fold this section down, and that will sit right above the, or right at the belly. And then these bits on the edges of the bumper fold in all the way to tuck in and complete the chest. And that's a really cool, like, I love how the truck grill becomes the robot chest, but also kind of slims up. And I want to talk about this design a bit more too when we get to when we finish getting to the robot mode. But yeah, I love that transformation bit. Now we can swing this around, and this will tab in here, just right in there. So tap that in, and fold this up all the way, and bring this down, and we're going to open the fingers on his hand, and just kind of get things rotated a bit, and all right. And on this arm, more or less the same thing. This rotates in, tabs in, this tab goes right in there, and then this comes down, shoulder pad goes up, and we have that done. Now for the last bit, this armature goes in, and this arm comes down, and it all just kind of pegs together. This will open up. You can just leave this down if you want, but it doesn't really look great. So unfold that, bring this up, and this will actually click into the hand, and you can close the fingers around, and he's got his glaive thing that's permanently attached to his arm, which is kind of cool. And while we're at it, actually, I'm going to give the knees a little bit of a bend, because in my mind it works better. Give him just a bit of a bend to those legs. And lastly, the backpack. For this, I'm going to fold this section in. That'll fold all the way in, about 180 degrees. Not quite, but close. Then this piece will fold in. And now these will fold in. Oh, nope, I did it wrong. Don't fold that in yet. You want to fold these in first, and these will tab in on these little tabs on the inside of the hood. And here you can kind of see what I'm talking about, how this is actually translucent orange plastic sitting inside a different bit of plastic. I can't quite tell if they did the same for these side windows or not. It kind of looks like they painted it, but it's really hard to tell for sure. But anyway, rotate that in, peg those in. It doesn't peg in super securely, but it does peg in. Now you can fold this in. And this whole assembly will accordion up And this will fold in on this hinge and all accordions into place, and then this will tab into that tab on the back. And there we have Studio Series 101 Rise of the Beast Scourge, whatever, in his incredibly cool looking and intimidating robot mode. And I love this figure. As I said, that transformation is wild, but it's a really cool, really fun transformation. And the robot you're left with looks incredible. The silhouette on this guy is great. Like, I thought from photos he looked a little bit skinny, but in hand, he's kind of scary looking. It is kind of a shame that he just has this flat roof of the truck compressed up against his back. It compresses nicely, and I like the quad smokestacks sticking up over the shoulders, but it kind of, it would be nice if this compacted maybe a little bit more, but this also may be movie accurate, I don't know. But yeah, this thing is very cool. Very, very intimidating robot. The colors are great because it's just very kind of dark gray, black, brownish, whatever. And again, you've got that chain detail that they painted all over the place. Like, it's wrapped around the right thigh, but not the left. You've still got it going through the grill there. You've got it going around the forearm on this side and around the wrist on this side and around the bicep. I really like that detail. And while the painting is overall, it seems kind of minimal, it's still done really well. Like, it kind of shows how careful application of a handful of paint apps can actually have more of an impact than having a ton of paint all over the thing. Also, I like the silver pipes in the waist section. And really, asymmetry is a big thing on this guy. And I do like the asymmetry because it's not so overt, but it works. It's one of those things where you don't necessarily notice the asymmetry until you're really looking for it. Like, again, the fact that you've got the chain details here but not here, the 2 pipes here, 1 pipe here, the obviously different arms, the different chains on the arms there, the asymmetrical pattern of the chain on the torso, that kind of thing. It's really cool. I really, really like this robot mode. Now, for this bit here, as I said, you kind of need to put it in his hand. You can do other things, like if you want to unplug it, you can just kind of fold this up and leave it hanging like this, which is fine. It could be better. But another thing you can do is, this isn't official, it's not designed to do this, but this bit here is attached on this little armature just via, like, it's just kind of clipped in place. It's not pinned in, so you can pop it out, flip it around, and stick it back in. So then in robot mode, you can actually have the weapon, when it's tucked away, kind of folded back along the forearm, which does look cool. Personally, I think it's just better to have it in his hand, but if you don't want to have it in his hand for whatever reason, you can do that. And then, of course, you've got the big old capture claw hand, which is weird. I'm going to do this real quick just to get this out of the way, but yeah, to attach the blaster, you just yank his arm off. And I'm not a fan of that, but you do. And you can see the little peg there. There's the little hole, and there's that notch that lines up with this bit right here. And similar, you can see the similar thing on the blaster here. So you just line up that notch with that post and slide it on. And now Scourge has his blaster hand, which it's fine. I do think it's kind of cool how the implication is that his, at least in my mind, the implication is that his capture claw hand kind of folds back in on itself and curls around to make that. I could be wrong, but that kind of is the vibe I get from it. And I think that's cool. But I don't really like how it messes with the proportions of the arm, which I know sounds weird because it's all asymmetrical, but I like the kind of skinnier forearm with the giant claw versus the Mega Man Buster Cannon. And also, there's no paint on this. So like this matches the rest of the body a lot better. This lighter gray doesn't really blend in with anything that you see in the robot mode that well. So I'm just not a fan of that, but that is an option, and if you want, you can take the hand, and there's this little slot on the back of the forearm that will plug into this peg on the little armature back here. Plug that in there, and that stores the arm and gives him kind of a tail. It's whatever. But that is not what I prefer to do. I prefer to just simply not have this blaster on his arm. And I prefer to have the capture claw hand. So let's plug that back in, open this back up a little bit, and this you can also store on the back. I found that you can peg this into the same tab that was used for the arm. It's a little bit awkward because this tab gets in the way for the backpack, but you can store it there. Or you can use one of these tabs on the blaster to tab it into his butt. And that is a little bit less awkward, but it's still just not something that I'm a big fan of. I vastly prefer to simply not have this attached at all, even though I do think it bulks out the truck mode nicely. And I'm going to flip this around real quick, because even though you can do it, I still think, he's a threatening baddie. He should have his weapon ready to go. Oops. It goes this way. And click that in and curl the fingers around it. Okay. Yeah, Scourge is just really cool. Now, for the head, as with, actually, maybe I should make use of that zoom so that the lighting's not terrible. As for the head, it is, as we saw from the movie, it is the Terrorcon logo, and I think that's really cool. I think it's also cool how he has this kind of protective neck skirt armor. And because of the way the head is constructed, you actually get a ball joint here and a ball joint where the head connects to the neck. So he almost has like a was it Reveal the Shield, Revenge of the Fallen, whatever the movieverse lockdown figure was. It doesn't have that level of head articulation, but I do like that you can turn the neck here, turn the head here, and look up, look down. Though, as you can see, the ball joint is a little bit out of whack on mine, so the head likes to spring up on its own. But it can be worked around. Now these shoulder pads can move up and down. No, actually, forgot I wanted to say the head sculpt also, I like that they went kind of a simple route with it with black plastic, just painted the mask in like this gunmetal color, and he's got light piped eyes that you can't really see like this. I wonder if I can angle the lamp so it lights them a little bit better. I don't know, maybe a little bit. Even closer, maybe? Yeah, there you can kind of see the light piping gives him these really beady looking glowing eyes, which is pretty cool. I like that. Alright, now for articulation, because I didn't transition into that properly. The shoulder pads can go up and down, and the shoulders can go up and down at a couple of different points. They can swing on this joint, so they can swing like that, but then there's also a joint in here that they can swing up at, so you can go pretty high up with the arms. You can keep them tucked close to the body. You've got some options. The arms can also rotate forward and backwards, though the backpack does get in the way of backwards. The arms are on, there is a bicep swivel, which is just above the elbow, which is fine, as long as it's not below the elbow. The elbow can bend 90 degrees on the capture claw arm and about 90 degrees on the non-capture claw arm. As we saw, the claw arm has 4 opening fingers that can open pretty far. Can actually go back in a lot of cases. There is no wrist swivel, which I think is fine. And then this hand, there is no wrist swivel, but with this armature sticking out, that makes sense. But you can open and close the fingers, and of course you can move that weapon around. You do also get waist rotation. I'm going to move this. You do get waist rotation, and that goes all the way around. It does not go all the way around. It goes pretty far, though. What's stopping it is there's this bit here that sticks up that is going to hit what's going on here. But still, that's a pretty wide range of waist rotation. The hips can go forward that far and back that far. They can go out to the full 90. You've got thigh swivels, as we saw for the transformation. The knees can straighten out or bend to basically 90. As I said, though, I like to keep them a little bent because of the way the feet work. And the feet can go forward to about there, can go back to there, or you can click them back there or there. But I prefer to do that. And you get pretty excessive ankle tilts. So, Rise of the Beast, Scourge, whatever, is quite posable. And also just quite cool. This guy is very, very neat. As I keep saying, think this guy looks really, really neat. The only issues that I really have are I kind of wish that the up and down motion on these bits were a little bit tighter than these bits, because when I try to move the arms, I keep moving them at a joint I don't necessarily want to move them at right away. And the backpack does get in the way of the backwards motion a bit. And the blaster weapon's a little bit meh. But overall, Scourge, whatever, is so cool. It's a very cool looking robot design. Very neat transformation. I'm going to plug this back onto his butt. There we go. And yeah, I'm just really, really into this. This is a very, very cool figure. And also, despite the truck not looking all that big, he does stand pretty tall. He's not enormous, but he's pretty big. Pretty darn big. I mean, he clearly towers over a Voyager. He's a leader, so that makes sense. He should tower over a Voyager, but there's a lot of cool intricacy to the design there. Oh, also, I completely forgot the thing I wanted to point out in the robot mode when I was talking about the truck grill, but it's less obvious in the truck mode, much more obvious in robot mode. But looking at this chest design, the way it's all folded up, it's a really interesting, his entire chest is a stylized skull. Just look at it. You've got the teeth down here, the actual skull segment up here. You could say that there are eyes up in here. That's so ridiculous, but also really awesome. So yeah, I just thought that was a really, really cool detail. Now let's get these back out of the way. And I've got an Astrid back on my lap, so we're doing this on hard mode again. Okay, now before we do the last bit of size comparison, I'm going to bring in another Nemesis Prime, so you could see how Scourge measures up to an older leader. And I mean, this is obviously from a different line. The point behind it was different. The way it works is different. I will absolutely stand by the fact that this is a great mold. I definitely prefer it in Nemesis colors, especially because the trailer is a little bit more cohesive. But yeah, they do very different things. And I feel like, Scourge, all things considered, I think is a more complex design in terms of production. There are a lot of moving parts on Power of the Primes, Nemesis, and by extension Optimus Prime, but it's overall a much simpler affair. The transformation's much more straightforward, and especially in the case of Nemesis, there's not a ton of paint on him. Like, there is some, but a lot of it is very kind of simplistic. And I feel like Rise of the Beast Scourge does something, some of those things does a little bit better. I still love this figure, just, complexity-wise with the paint and whatnot. Anyway, bring this bad boy back in and wrap this up. And yeah, as I said, Scourge is pretty decent size and just a really cool figure. And that is gonna do it for Studio Series 101, Rise of the Beasts Leader Class Scourge. And this figure, as I've said many times, is incredibly cool. I don't think I'm the only person who's looked at this figure who's said it, but I feel like if you're interested at all, get it. It is really fun. The transformation is really interesting. I love how the shoulder pads are made up of the actual truck hood. And I love how the actual grille is the chest, and how it kind of folds in and contorts a little bit to reshape itself for the robot mode chest. I'm totally cool with the integrated weapon armature, and as I said, like, he looked a little spindly in photos, but in hand, he doesn't look like beefy, but he doesn't look skinny. He looks more of like a I don't know the best villain to compare him to, but basically, like, he looks like less of a, like, smash things with physical force type bad guy, and more of a cunning, sneaky, and just kind of maniacally scary bad guy, which in my mind is much more interesting and just much more intimidating. And as I said, he just looks really cool. He looks really cool. The transformation is really cool. And I can't believe I actually hesitated to get this guy initially, but even before the first videos came out, I was just like, you know what, I'm going to go for it, because he's, in my mind, technically a Nemesis Prime, and hopefully he's cool. And then videos started coming out, and I was just like, oh yeah, I made the right choice. And then I got him, and it's like, yes, I definitely made the right choice. But yeah, that is going to do it for Scourge. What do you all think of this guy? And, whether or not you think he qualifies as a Nemesis, you can weigh in on that too. But really, just as the figure in general, I'm curious to know what you all think. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And I'm still not sure what I want to do for an adjusted outro, because the whole art is more than meets the eye thing just doesn't quite sit right with me anymore. It just seems kind of eh. So, this toy is great. You should buy it if you can. And hopefully Rise of the Beasts is not a disappointment.